Okay, thank you, Marian. Before we starting the training course, we would like to introduce ourselves. My name is Rifan Ardianto from Directorate of Meteorology, Indonesia, and
My name is Lita Anita Fajarani. I'm from Development Center of Meteorological Resources, Ministry of Trade 2. We are in the same ministry.
Okay, thank you, Lita. And now we will start. The first topic of this training course will be the labeling of the prepackaged based on the OML recommendation R79. So let Lita, please.
Okay. Before we continue our main topic of today, it is labeling, and we are sorry. First of all, I would like to say thank you for being able to joining this Zoom meeting, and we will continue our training for today. Okay. Okay. We are going to do the labeling based on OMLR 79/2015. Okay. For our learning objective is to understand the meaning of what is prepackaged goods and understand the mandatory matters in prepackaged goods labeling and knowing certain regional regulation on labeling. Okay, there are 7 sections that I will try to give you today. It is scope, terminology, identity of the product, declaration of responsibility for a prepackage, quantity declaration, misleading practice, and Annex A. That's what we're going to we are going to give you a presentation about this on the first section of OML. Okay, for scope and terminology, 3 main things that the requirements of the prepackage in labeling is respected to. There are the identity of the product, and the second one is the declaration of responsibility for a prepackage, then the quantity of product in the prepackage. It all have to apply to all prepackage with constant nominal quantity and random quantities, which are prepacked first and bear a quantity declaration. So when you see a kind of prepackaged goods without any quantity declaration, you have to understand, is it really a prepackaged goods or not? Okay, we are continue that this recommendation does not cover other information, claims, and declaration made in relation to health, safety, tax, ingredients, nutrition, date limits, and storage. And national regulation may specifically include exception to the recommendation. So this is a recommendation. So all the national regulation, all national can adjust to what your country needs. So you don't have to, it's not a must have, but you can adjust it to this recommendation. And it's not this, the scope does not cover non-prepackaged goods. What is non-prepackaged goods? So it's a goods that packed in front of the customer. Yeah, the consumer, not customer. So the goods packed in front of the consumer. So the consumer know how much, how many amount of things that they bought. Okay. Any question before we go to terminology? Okay, I think there is no question.
I have a question from Singapore.
Excuse me?
From Singapore.
Yeah, to clarify for slide 5, what is meant by declaration of responsibility for a prepackage?
This, okay.
Yeah, slide 5.
Sorry. This one, declaration? You mean the declaration of responsibility for a prepackage?
Yeah.
Okay. The declaration of responsibility for a prepackage is the one that sold or pack or distribute or import or export all the prepackaged that going to be sold on other country or other region. So that's the it's declaration that we need to have who is the one that responsible for all the distribution, all the sales for that prepackage.
Okay, noted. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, back to our presentation. So terminology, we have like 11, and I think all of you have already get the copy of it. Did anybody has not yet got any copy for this? Okay. So it's a lot of terminology, but I think we're going to give a quick brief about this. We start with label. So what is label? Label is something that written, printed, or graphic matter affixed to, applied to, attached to, blown into, formed or molded into, embossed on, appearing upon, included in, or belonging to, or accompanying a prepackage containing any product for purpose of branding, identifying, or giving any information with respect to the product or to the content of the prepackage. We can just give you another. Can you see? Okay, this is what we call labeling. We have the identity of product. This is all labeling. If you don't really understand what it means, so this is all labeling. Things that give information about the prepackage, that's all labeling. The name, the identity, the nutrition, everything is labeling. Okay, but in legal methodology, we only have to address for 3 things, which is identification of the product, a declaration of responsibility for the prepackage, and the quantity, the nominal quantity. Okay, we'll continue. Then we have medium. What is medium? Medium is a fluid that is put into the prepackage together with the product, either separate from, in, or surrounding the product, and it is intended to be left over after we use the product, and except for items naturally in the product. So we have products that have medium, like cucumber pickle. We have like a liquid inside the bottle. So the liquid is not what we eat. We're not drinking it. So the liquid, we consider it as medium. Okay. We'll continue our terminology. Is misleading package. A misleading package is a prepackage that is made, formed, presented, marketed, or filled in any way that may mislead consumer about the quantity of the product that is contained. So misleading misleading packages is a package that looks bigger, or it has something in the package that may mislead the consumer, like it's bigger or it has the concave or the, how do you say that, the shape of it that may not contain, that may not not have the same the same amount of what it said in the label. Okay, and we have net quantity. The net quantity is the quantity of product in the prepackaged exclusive of any packaging material. So net quantity is the amount of product in the prepackaged outside of any packaging material. Okay, then we have another terminology is nominal quantity. The quantity of the product, that's the meaning of nominal quantity. It's the quantity of the product in prepackaged declared on the label. So the label should declare all the amount. So prepackaged is something that the packer or the producer or all the people that are responsible with the prepackaged, they should put the amount of prepackaged inside the label, or sorry, on the label. Okay. So in some national legislation of nominal quantity, it is referred as net quantity, net content, net mass, net volume, or maybe in others are netto or just net. Okay. Now we're back to packing material. Packing material is the prepackaged that is intended to be left over after the use of the product, except for it's naturally in the product. As we can see, we have tea bags, chocolate. What is the packing material in this tea bag? Anyone could tell me what is that include as we can say that it is the packing material of the tea bag? Anyone? Could anyone answer? So, okay. What is the packing material? The packing material of the prepackaged is the box itself. And because it is individually wrapped, as we can see, there are wrapper for each tea bags. So the wrapper itself is the packing material, but the tea bag, it's not, because that's what we are using the product. We use the tea bag, but we don't use the box and the wrapping for each tea bag. Okay, and how about this mango? This is a chocolate. This is a chocolate. It has the identity as mango fine chocolate. So as we all know, chocolate consists of the packing material of several layers of paper, or maybe some plastic, or maybe some aluminum foil. Everything that's not the things that we are not consumed, it's considered as packing material. And how about this? Banana. What is the packing material of bananas? Do we consider it as prepackaged because it's already packed? Or does it contain something like a packing material? Okay, packing material. Okay, the packing material in banana is, it's not, banana does not contain any packing material because it's the item is naturally in the product. So for things like banana, eggs, fruit with skin, it's not a packing material because the item is naturally in the product. Okay. So prepackaged. What is prepackaged? Prepackaged is a single item that includes both a product and packing material. So prepackaged contain product and packing material. Made up in advance. What do you mean? What is the meaning of made up in advance? It is made up without the presence of the consumer, because the consumer doesn't know how it was measured. Consumer doesn't know whether it was in this good shape. That's why it's made up in advance. So, and he has a predetermined quantity, whether it's constant or variable. And it's a fully or partially enclosed in a packing material. So the product should be enclosed in packing material or partially enclosed. Okay. In any case, in such a way, the first thing we have to know that the product, we cannot consume or use the product without the packing material is being opened. So we have to open the packing material first, then we can use the product. That's what the prepackaged means, or being opened or undergoing a perceptible modification. Now, we have known about the packing, and we know that prepackaged contain a product and packing material. So what is the product? Product is all of the prepackaged that it's not a packing material. So as we all know, product is something that we use or we consume. Okay. So we know that there is a constant nominal and there are variable nominal quantity. So this, what is prepackaged marked with constant nominal quantity, is a prepackaged on which the same quantity is declared. So all the prepackaged has the same quantity. This is some of example. This is a, how you say, pear, it's a banana crisps. No. It's a crisps, chips contain with some beans and some anchovy, something like that. And it has this quantity declared, because we are Indonesia, we have said berat bersih, but in English, we could say that net weight. It said 120 grams, but the unit of they don't have the right unit, so it should be fixed first before they are sold. Okay. Now this is something that we said it was constant nominal prepackaged marked with constant nominal. Okay, how about this? Prepackaged marked with random nominal quantity. What is it? It's a prepackaged individually measured and marked with its actual quantity at the time of packing. I think we all see this, just like this, but I have this from the US, so they have the unit by, not by international units, so we can see ounce here, and we can see that there are, at the time of the measured, at 1.02 ounce, so nominal quantity. Okay, so you can see that the net weight is 1.02, so the total price is $5.09. Okay, now back to the Now we have this principal display panel. What is principal display panel? Principal display panel is part of prepackage that is designed to be visible under normal condition of display for cells. So as you can see, this is a quick brief of sample. The sample will be put this way on the display by the time they were sold. So principal display panel is one thing that the consumer could see for the first time to buy the prepackage. Okay. Okay. Any question before we move on? No? Okay, we are continue. Now, this is information required on a prepackage. As we could see from the first slide, we have to know that there are three things that this recommendation gives us as mandatory. Mandatory is a must that every prepackage should have on the label, which are identity of product, declaration of responsibility for the prepackage, and quantity declaration. These are the three things that legal metrology should address when they are trying to inspect all the prepackage. First is the identity of the product. So the identity of the product must have marked on principal display panel, and it is marked conspicuously and can be easily read and understood. Consider the type of size, font, color, contrast to background, and position. This is one of the identity of the product. As we can see, it's for the identity is Dilmah tea bags, and it's pure Ceylon. But as we can see, the green tea letters, the green tea letters are, well, we could say it's not contrast. So people would kind of have to read it very carefully because they don't know whether is it really green tea or black tea or something, because it's not in contrast with the background. And then we have, that is the identity of product, Dilmah pure Ceylon green tea with lemongrass. Okay. So the identity of the product shall be termed at least one of this following designation in the order of priority listed. So if in our national legislation has the name specified or required by any applicable national legislation, then we have to use the name specified. Okay, and if in our national legislation we don't have any name specified or required, then we can use the common or usual name by which the product is known, like instant noodle, tea bags, things. Okay, and the generic name, if we don't know what is the common or usual name with the product, we can use the generic name. What is the generic name? Is other appropriate descriptive term, such as statement of function. So like sticky notes, or like sticky notes, it's notes that's sticky, but we don't know and it's already become a generic name because people know what is sticky notes is. Okay. Now we continue with declaration of responsibility for a prepackaged article. It should have name and physical address of the manufacturer, the packer, the distributor, importer, exporter or vendor responsible shall be declared on any surface. So declaration of responsibility for it's not have to be put on the principal display panel, but it could be on the side or at the back part of the package. Okay, it's not always, you can put it anywhere as long as it was conspicuous, easy to read, and understood in one of the official language of the country in which it's sold. It is okay. So when it's like this, when we are Indonesian, we like to export our stuff into Thailand, probably. Then we should put like a translation, or we just change the labeling to the official language of the country in which is Thailand, because we want to sell our goods in Thailand, things like that. Okay, and just like when we import things in Indonesia, when people from other country would like to sell their product into our country, they should give a translator about what is the product, or they just change all the labeling. So it would be easy for people in the country that the prepackaged is sold to understand what is the prepackaged, how many or how much amount of this product, and who's responsible for it. Okay, and then other phrase that can be used for goods that's not produced or manufactured by person who take responsibility for the product, we could use manufactured by, imported by, or packed by. And the name of an address for the manufacturer and packer can be identified as the code if permitted by national legislation. If in Indonesia we don't have code, I think we don't use code as a permitted address by national. Our legislation does not permit that. I don't know, in others could be, because every country has different legislation. Now this is okay. This is one of the sample. So it's produced by PT Megasari Makmur for Godrej Group Company. So the responsible is Godrej Group Company, but because he's not the one who produced the stuff, so it put the person in charge, like PT Megasari Makmur. And this is and the other one is imported or produced by. This the one that responsible in Indonesia is PT TTS Abadi, the one in the upper circle, and the one that produced, the person that produced is Costa de Oro. The label shows that the one that is responsible in Indonesia is imported by, and the one that produced is produced by. Okay, and we have some produced in and packed in for. So as you can see, it was stated that it produced in Italy, packed in UK. For Tesco Store Ltd Chestnut, produced in Italy. So Italy is the one that producing this prepackaged, packed in UK for. Okay, for who's the one who packed and sold is for Tesco Stores Ltd Chestnut. Chestan. And we have coded cream cracker, product of Malaysia, code 11329. Imported and marketed by, it is the name of responsibility for the cream cracker that was sold in New Zealand, and the product was made of Malaysia with code 11329. Okay, any question before we continue? No question. Okay, we'll continue. Now, this is the quantity declaration. A prepackaged shall bear a declaration of the nominal quantity of the product in the principal display panel. So, could you okay, this is a principal display panel. This is an example of, maybe I could, oh, I'm so big. Okay, this is the principal display panel. All the prepackaged was sold with this stick. Okay, this is the principal display panel, and all the quantity should be placed on principal display panel. Oh, sorry. This is the principal. This is the amount of quantity. Okay, it's 15 pieces, and it's large. It's large, and we have the size of it. Because it's zipper bag, so it was sold by count and by size of area. Okay. Now, continue our presentation. Okay, prepackaged that not intended for sale, like a free samples or sachets of condiments, provided with food or drink, or free toiletries, provided by accommodation establishment, need not bear any quantity declaration. So if the prepackaged is not intended for sale, like it's free samples or sachets of condiments or free toiletries, the prepackaged does not have to declare any quantity declaration. Yeah. Okay. And if the product is intended to be as a free samples that bears a declaration of its quantity, it shall comply with requirements for the prepackaged. It doesn't have to bear any quantity, but if the sample has a declaration of its quantity, it should have comply with requirements for prepackaged. Okay. Now, we have some height of letters and numerical numbers in labeling are defined by national regulation. So in this recommendation, OML does not recommend for heights of letter and numerical letters in labeling, because they want all of our national do their own regulation. Okay, so, and we have Annex B to have to give some information about letter and numerical numbers and height in some regional. It's just information, so maybe it could be useful if our country wants to export our prepackaged goods. Okay, and Annex C inform methods of indicating the quantity of prepackaged. Okay, then we are moved to nominal quantity. What is nominal quantity? And it has to express in terms of the largest whole unit of mass volume, length, area, or a combination of these units in the decimal system according to Annex A. We will discuss about Annex A later on, and has not have more than 3 significant figures. So the maximum of significant figures in the labeling, on the labeling is 3 significant figures. Okay. We don't use 1,000 milligram. We use 1 liter, 1 kilo, 1 kilogram. Okay. We don't use 1,000 milligram or 1,000 milliliters. We use 1 liter. Okay. And then where indicated by means of a label printed by a measuring instrument, the rule in B, it's not applied. Okay, does not apply. And the quantity declaration may be less than a whole number. Yes, for example, is 0.988 kilo. We could have that because it was printed by the measuring instrument. Okay. When in terms of count, the express will be in whole number. So there will be no decimal in the count when we sell something in terms of count. We have to address it in whole numbers. No fraction, no decimal. Okay. Now this is what we call sold by mass. We have 2 kilo, and you don't use S at the end of the unit, international unit, just 2 kilos. And sold by volume is, the sample is 250 milliliter. And sold by count is like this gum is 15 pieces. And this is example of sold by area, like pepper. This is pepper. And sold by length, just like the hose. Okay. As we can see, the area is 2010 multiplied by 297 millimeter. Okay. And this is 2. And the sold by length is 15 meters. Okay, any question? Any question? Okay, and I will continue by presentation of information. The quantity declaration shall appear in easily legible boldface type of or print that contrast contrast and position on the principal display panel. Easy to read and understand. This is what the presentation should look like. We have facial tissue from Yoa. It said 250 sheets to ply. It's easy to read. People could just, oh, okay, they could understand it easily. And it's contrast by its background. But others don't put quantity declaration on the principal display panel. So as you can see, this is shampoo. They don't put the nominal quantity at the principal display panel, but they put it on the back. It's 4,050 milliliters. It's okay because in our country, it does not state, in Indonesia, we don't state that all the nominal quantity should be put at principal display panel. But maybe in your country has different legislation, so they should put in they should put, maybe they should put the quantity, nominal quantity at the front at the principal display panel. So these two are the things that usually printed the nominal quantity at the back of the principal display panel. So how about when the quantity is blown, embossed, and molded? So other requirement of label information shall be provided elsewhere on the surface or on the label, so it should be conspicuous and easy to read and understood. Okay, as we can see, we have 750 milliliter quantity declaration is embossed, and other description that need was stick or put on the label on different on the different surface. Okay. Now, this is the specification of net quantity. If the product is marked in pieces or sheets, the net quantity specification should be count, and it was stated in whole number. Then decimal or fraction is not allowed. So we only have the whole number for the count if marked in pieces or sheets. Okay. Now this is if the product is liquid. If the product is liquid, the statement must be in volume and the whole number too. Then, if the product is sold in solid, gas, or liquefied gas, it must be statement in mass. Okay. As you can see, we have some liquefied gas. It was 12 kilogram, and this is a, what is it, insect killer? Yeah, this is an insect killer. So they said the quantity was stated 250 gram net, and the instant noodle, because it's solid, it is stated in gram, in mass. Okay, if the product is semi-solid or viscous or a mixture of solid and liquid, or the solid part of a mixture of a solid and liquid, it should be stated in mass or volume. So we could state all this kind of product in mass or volume. They all both allowed. Okay, like this one is a moisturizer, gentle facial cleanser, and moisturizer. They are kind of solid emulsion. So in emulsion, we could use either mass or volume. It's fine. And if the product is marked by thickness, length, or area, it should be stated in length and area, and fraction is not allowed. Everything that fraction is not allowed, excluding for some like printed. The state like the printed, if we except for the variable quantity. That's the fraction. What fraction? Decimal is allowed. Okay, but fraction is not allowed. Okay, for quantity based firmly on established general consumer usage and trade custom, the quantity must provide accurate and adequate information to the purchaser. This provision act like a catch-all provision of situation not covered on 3 scenarios. So all the other scenario, when it's not covered, we could use the quantity that used to, because it's already established, and we could use the quantity of like mass. And this sample is mass. Okay. Now, can you pull out from these pictures below? Can you zoom in on the keripik nangka with the quantity? Okay. So can you see? Can you all see all the nominal quantity printed on the label? Could you all see all the print? Did you see? Because we have in the same amount of, in the same size of a pre-package, they have 4 nominal quantity. They have 100 gram, 150 gram, 200 grams, and 500 grams. The producer checked on the 100 gram, but the size of it is 500, could contain 500 grams. Okay, so we could say that the package could be very big, but the amount of product that we can consume is so small. Okay, it is okay, because in Indonesia we don't have rules for misleading prepackage, how big the space for amount of 100 grams. We don't have any rules for that. But if the producer or the packer forgot to tick one of these nominal, it could mislead to all the purchaser. Maybe they accept, maybe they say, oh, I hope I have 500 grams, but when you open it, you only have 100 grams. It's a misleading prepackage, okay? And how about this century pack? Do we have does any condiment, is it okay to have this without any quantity declaration for this century pack? Is it okay? Yes, it is okay, because it's a condiment, it's a free toiletries. So you don't have to put quantity declaration on the label. Okay. Okay, back to misleading. I just told you about misleading practice like this one. This is a very things that really going to mislead all of us. If we hope to get 500 grams, but we only get 100 grams, so it misleads to the purchaser. Now, misleading, what is misleading? Why we still have misleading? So misleading is the label of prepackaged the misleading is label on prepackaged shall not contain any information or ambiguous statement likely to mislead a purchaser. That's what we want. So the label should give the purchaser the exact, the purchaser does not feel misled. That's what this is all about. So when it is 500 grams, we put 500 grams. We don't put one single package with 4 nominal quantity. It should not have to be done like that. Okay, and fill level, a prepackage shall be filled in such manner that purchaser may not reasonably be misled with respect to the quantity. So it should be filled in such manner. And if a purchaser cannot fully view the product, it shall be considered to be filled. Okay, so when the package is so big, so tall, the purchaser cannot view the product in the package, so it will be considered as it filled to the max. So it shall be misleading if it contains excess non-functional slack fill that is not required by any production process. Okay, that's fill level. And what is slack fill? Slack fills is the difference between capacity of the product, of the packaging material, and the volume of the product it contains. Might be necessary. It is necessary for the following reason that not be regarded as misleading. So if we use slack fill for protection of the product, that is allowed. If the requirement of the machine used for enclosing the content in the prepackaged could give you slack fill, that is not misleading. And unavoidable product settling using shipping and handling is not considered as misleading. And the need of prepackaged to perform a specific function, like when package plays a role in preparation of consumer, where such a function is inherent, it's clearly communicated to the consumer. So slack fill is okay only for these 4 reasons. Okay, protection, requirement, unavoidable product settling, and the needs to perform a specific function. Okay. Any question? Now this is an example for protection. It's like a box of chocolate. It contains, this is the box of chocolate, and when you open it, it has several layers of packaging. It holds the product intact. So it's okay to have this kind of protection in the product, for the packaging for the product. And this is unavoidable settling. You have a slack fill, almost 37%, because it could, well, it is a detergent and it should move so it won't break the package because of the handling. So it's okay to have slack fill. But this, is it misleading? It's an old one. This is an old packaging, but now I think they don't have that tall part. So this could be misleading, because we all know that whenever consumer does not know how big the product is, it could consider as full, it was filled all the way to the top. Okay, because it's not for, I'm not sure whether it's for protection, but it could say that it is a misleading package. Okay. This is, I think, for the misleading package. It's designed and displayed of a, you could all read this. I'm not going to tell because you can read all of this. Okay, then it's Annex A. It's units of measurement. We have, this is a mandatory part of OML labeling. It's unit of measurement and symbol. We use a single space. So how do you make the unit of measurement. Use a single space to separate the number from the unit of measurement. You have to make a single space. And then appropriate phrase in accordance to national legislation. Okay, we have to make an appropriate phrase accordance to national legislation. Like in Indonesia, we have netto should have that printed, net weight, net mass, net volume, net content, and then the number of the symbol and the number of the unit of measurement. And ambiguous expressions such as approximately or standard and when packed is not going to be used, shall not be used as part of quantity declaration. We are not allowing all the packers to give an expression ambiguous, like approximately or standard or when packed. Okay, no ambiguous expression. So this is the unit of measurement. We have milligram, gram, kilogram, ton, milliliter, centiliter, liter, micrometer, millimeter, centimeter, meter, square meter, and extra. Okay, we are using and the little for liter, milliliter, centiliter, and others. We are giving the L, the capitalized L is okay, because in order to avoid the risk of confusion of the letter and number one. So we could use capitalized L. And this is choices of units that we could use if the product is less than 1,000 milliliters. We could use milliliters or centiliters. But if the product type of the type of measurement is bigger than 1,000 milliliter, we could use liter. And the symbolize like L, capitalized L, or just small l. On volume cubic, we could use this. So all of you, if you're inspecting things, inspecting all the prepackaged, we could use this as a mandatory that we should address. We should more conscious about it. Okay, this type of units. Okay, have you all got the Annex B? Do you all have the copy of Annex B, the training material? I think you all have. This is, I think we will give you an homework. I'm sorry, because I have to give you a homework. I don't want to give you a homework, but Marian asked me to give you a homework as an assessment. So I want you to find 3 prepackaged goods and find out if the labeling is accordance to mandatory requirement in your country. Okay, we have, I want you all, I want each of you, not all, not from, oh, I'm from China, Taipei, I only give one example. No, I want each of you to give me a sample of 3 prepackaged goods and find out if the labeling is accordance to mandatory requirements. We have 3 mandatory requirements, which is the identity of product, declaration of responsibility of prepackaged for prepackaged, and the nominal quantity. I want you to give me 3 prepackaged goods and find out if the labeling is accordance to mandatory requirement. And please read the presentation on Annex B, types and size of letter. Find out if 3 package that you already inspected is qualified for US, EU, and SADC. Okay, I'm not, I hope you already I hope you have already have the copy of Annex B. So please do this homework, and you could put this consistent.
Later.
Okay, so you could upload it into our Google Drive. Yeah, you could upload all of this homework to Google Drive, and I hope you will send us before the next Wednesday. You have a whole week to do this, so please do this homework and send it to us or upload it to our Google Drive. Okay.
Normally they don't have permission to upload to Google Drive, but how about Nick sets up a folder that they can put it into? Is that all right, Nick?
Yeah, sure.
And then we can call it homework, and she can send an email saying where the folder is. I think it's a great idea. Very nice.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I think it's all for me today. Please remember to read the Annex B, because I'm not going to give you today because we are in limit time. So I'm just going to give you the reading for our homework. Okay, so I will give it to Mr. Rifan now.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lita. Maybe if there is a question, you can give us the question for Ms. Lita if there's any question, or if you don't want to, you can also give the question by using chat feature. So it is okay for you all to give the question for us. So Lita will answer your question. Maybe if for now, maybe we have a break time first, 15-minute break. So maybe you can take a rest first, and then we will join again in 11:20. 11:20 we will join again. So please, if you still have a question, you can write in the chat feature. So Ms. Lita will answer your question maybe after the next presentation. Okay, thank you. Maybe we will take a break first.
We'll take 15-minute breaks. Thank you all.
Now we can start again for the next topic. The next topic we will talk about the OML guideline number 21. I think this is the new guideline that related to prepackaged. It is regarding to the certification system of the prepackaged. Before the slide. Okay, you can see on your screen the presentation regarding to the review of the OML Guide 21 with the title Guidance for Defining the Requirements for a Certification System for Prepackaged. So we will talk about Guide 21. Okay, the introduction. We know that the prepackage can give rise to concern on the part of the consumer regarding to the quantity of the product they contain. These concerns are usually addressed by some specifying product requirements in a normative document such as an OML recommendation. In this case, it is related to OML recommendation R79 and also OML recommendation R87 regarding to the quantity product. The packer of the prepackage should then demonstrate that the quantity of product in the prepackage complies with the prescription in the OML recommendation. Maybe in the morning, you all already have give explanation by Ms. Lita regarding to the labeling. Maybe for the next session, we will talk about the quantity. So this is how the packers or the manufacturer of the prepackage have to comply the prescription in the OML recommendation itself. Next, in the certain cases, it might be sufficient for the packers to assess and declare the conformity, but in other cases, a national authority might require the conformity be assessed by a competent or impartial third party. The implementation of this OML certification regarding to the prepackers may be sometimes the government have a limited resources. For example, the number of the inspector who can inspect all the quantity of the prepackers. As we know that the prepackers product, the number of prepackers product is very large, very a lot. Sometimes the government has a sufficiency in human resource, have a sufficiency in budget and others. So that's why the OML have make some guideline if a national authority of legal metrology can develop such a system of the certification of the prepackage. What is the certification of the prepackage itself? We have three definitions in here. The first one, we have to know what is the certification system itself. The certification system is defined as the rules, procedure, and management for carrying out certification. So this is the definition of certification system under the Guide 21 OML. And then certification scheme, this is the certification system related to specified products to which the same specified requirement, specific rule, and procedures apply. That's the scheme. And then what is the certification system for the prepackers? It is the certification scheme to control the quantity of the product in prepackage, and also for the labeling related to the identity of the product, the declaration of the responsibility for the prepackage, and also related to the quantity declaration. And the certificate system for the prepackers also include two certification mark associated with the product. We believe that in some region, some country maybe have developed this certification system of the prepackers. For example, we can see on the EU, Union Europe, they already developed before the guideline 21 published. They used the E mark for the certification of the prepackers relating to the quantity. So this is, I think, similar with the E mark that developed by the EU. And also another country, maybe there's also another certification system of the prepackers to make sure that government can control the quantity of the product more easily. The objective of the certification of the prepackers itself, there's three objectives. The first one is to establish the rules, the procedure for fostering confidence that the labeling and the quantity of the prepackers comply with all the relevant legal requirements. The second objective is to promote the efficiency of the control of prepackers whilst maintaining confidence in and facilitating trade of prepackaged product itself. The last objective of the certification of prepackers is to promote the harmonization, uniform interpretation, and implementation of legal methodology requirement for the quantity of the product in the package, including labeling and also the production system requirements itself related to the quantity. So if some region, if a region have developed the certification of the prepackaged, it is more easily to promote, to harmonize, to uniform the legal methodology requirement for the quantity. So it will make easy for the inspector to make sure that the quantity of the product already meet the requirement. The general principle of the certification system, we know that the certification system may include one or more certification scheme. It will be explained later. And then generally, government authority acts as the scheme owner and is the designating authority. So there is still a role of the government as the scheme owner and also as the designating authority to make sure that the certification system already implemented. Depending on the national regulation, one or more public or private bodies may be designated under a certification scheme. So maybe it depends on the national regulation. Maybe the government can issue some private body or public bodies to be as a designated body to follow the certification scheme as a testing laboratory, for example, or being a certification issuer, something like that. The conformity assessment body wishing to be designated under the scheme should apply to become designated according to the publicly available procedure. They have to have a competition, have a competence to evaluated by or on behalf of the designated authority, taking into account where applicable there is some accreditation or peer review scheme that may be depend on national legislation that how government can peer review or can assess the conformity assessment body itself. And then depending on national legislation, participation of the packer in a certification scheme is could be voluntary or maybe mandatory. It is depend on the national legislation. So this certification system of the prepackage can be voluntary for the packers or the manufacturer, or it could be mandatory if national legislation said about this scheme. And then a mark of conformity may be established to identify the prepackage that conforming to the state of requirement. It will be some mark in the label of the prepackage, so the consumer can see that if the prepackage have this mark that has a mark of conformity, then the consumer will be confident that the prepackage have been met the requirements. So they will confidence that the quantity of the prepackage not less than what the quantity declared on the label. And then the designating authority and designated body should have procedure for dealing with and resolving the complaint. So if there's a complaint, the government have to make some procedure how to develop the scheme to resolve to dealing with the consumer complaint. So this is the general principle of the certification system that we can see under the OML Guide 21. There is many scheme for the certification of the prepackage that OML already make on the guideline. There's at least six scheme. The end is only the edit scheme that might be show the underdefined number of possible other schemes. So if there's different things, there will be another end in this element. So we can say there's scheme A, scheme B, scheme C, scheme D, and E and F. So there is a different type of certification scheme that already described in the OML Guide 21. So we will discuss one by one. So for the scheme A, we can see that the element and the activities of the scheme A, we can see that the first one for the production system assessment, the scheme A will be cover all the 4 activities from the statement of the requirement, application for the certification, initial assessment and of the product system, and also for the review of the evidence of the compliance. And then the scheme A also cover the certification of the production system, which is include the decision on certification, issuing of certificate, registration of certificate, that's covered by the scheme A. So the scheme A only cover the production system and also for the certification of the product system. It is the minimum scheme. And then For the scheme B, it is exactly similar with the scheme A, covering the production system and also for the certification of the product system. But the scheme B cover also for the post-certification conformity assessment activities. It is regarding to the batch licensing. So this is similar with A, but only adding with the post conformity assessment activity. And for the C, it will be more complex with the from the A and B. It is cover the production system assessment and also cover the certification of the production system. But in C, it will covering also the licensing, which is cover the granting how the right to use the certificate and then granting the right to use mark of conformity. So this is the scheme C, and for the post activities, there are two activities that cover in the scheme C. It is regarding to the inspection at a point of production and also for the surveillance of the production system. So there's two post activities regarding to the inspection of the government to the point of the production and also the activities of the government to have the surveillance after the product is distributed to the marketplace. And similar with the C, the scheme D have the same element with scheme C, but only different in the activities of the post-certification conformity assessment. And for the complete scheme of the certification scheme, we can see in the F scheme, it is cover all the activities of the certification scheme for the prepackage from production system assessment, certification, granting, and also post activities. This is covering all the activities of the certificate. So this is the sixth scheme of the certification scheme for the prepackage. So we will see the example, the practical example of each scheme. For the scheme A, we can say, for example, if there is a farmer has a small production of preserve which he sells the prepackaged in the glass jar of the local product. So the farmer is the producer and also as the packer, and then the farmer put the label of the product with the name of the product, and then he put the name of him itself, name of the farmer, and also the place where the farmer is located, and also put the nominal quantity on the label. So this is exactly that the packers or manufacturer have to be done regarding to the prepackage. So we can say this is the production system assessment. They put the farmer put everything on the label, and then the farmer production process ensure that all jars are overfilled. So it will the farmer has make sure that there is no jar with less fill from the quantity declared on the label. And then the designated body assess the farmer production process system and issues the certificate, and then the government come to the farmer production and then assess and then issue the certificate for the farmer to declare that the production of the farmer product already meet the OML recommendation, for example. And then the certificate mentioned that if the farmer change his product process, then he has to inform the designated body. So in this case, that will be no necessary for designated body to perform any post activities. So because it is already declared by the farmer, the government trust to the farmer if there is something changing in their production. So there's a necessary for the farmer just to inform the designated body, and then the designated body will be make another activities, for example, to assess again, to issue again the new certificate if there is a different change of the product production process. So this is the simple scheme that only covered by the packer or covered by the manufacturer and the government. There is no more activities on the surveillance after the product is distributed to the market. So this is the example of the scheme A. How about the scheme B? The scheme B is more exactly similar with the scheme A, just only the post activities is different. So we can say that if the packer in country A receive a one-off order to batch of prepackaged from a customer in country B, and then the authority in country B will accept the shipment on the basis of certificate from a designated body in a country A that attests the packer's production system is able to produce the complying prepackaged and evidence the batch has been subjected to sample test and complies with the statement requirement. So it is point A and point 1 and point 2 is similar with the scheme A. So it means that the manufacturer or the packers are from different, for example, different country have to prove that that product have been certified by a designated body in the particular country. And then the packer send the certificate to his production system together with attestation by the designated body that the batch or identified by a batch number or otherwise has been tested and found to comply the authority in country B. Sorry. So this is the different the post activities is how the government between two countries have to see the licensing of the batch of the product that import or export or selling by another packer. So this is the licensing of the batch of the product that might be covered by the product that import or sell to another. So this is the scheme of certification system scheme B. For the example of the scheme C is more complicated, for example, because it is covering all activities. The first one we can see, for example, we can see that the packer's production system has been certified by a designated body. So it means that a manufacturer or the product or the manufacturer have been certified by a government, for example, and then this is allow for the packers or manufacturer to produce the prepackaged as specified in the certificate and place them to the market. So it means that if the product have been certified by the designated body, and then the producer or the packers can sell and can place the products on the market. And then depends on the national legislation, the package can be marked with a mark of conformity. It is depends if the national legislation have to require to make the conformity mark as the mandatory, then each package has to be marked with the conformity mark. But if it is voluntary, it might be not necessary for the packers or manufacturer to put the label of the conformity mark in the prepackaged. And then the packers is subject to periodic surveillance of his production system by designated body. So the government or the designated body have to perform the periodic surveillance to make sure that the production system or the packers of the manufacturer have still meet the requirement that put on the certificate. The designated body also perform the sample test on the prepackaged product produced by the packers at the point of the production. So it means that to make sure the prepackaged produced by the packers, the government or the designated body still perform, they put the sample and then they test the sample, it is still meet the requirement or not. So it is like a similar activities that we done. Government come to the packers, government come to the manufacturer and then put sample, and then the sample is testing for the quantity, for the labeling and so on. and then see what is whether the prepackaged still meet the requirement or not. And then the surveillance in the marketplace also performed by a market surveillance authority, but it is not the part of the scheme. So it is different of the certificate system, but the government or the market surveillance authority can also perform how to make sure that the product, the prepackaged distribute placed on the market still meet the requirement. So this is the activities of the post activities in the assessment by the government. The first one is taking the sample test at the point of production, and the second option is doing the market surveillance in the market just to make sure that everything is still meet the requirement. So this is the scheme C, and the scheme D similar with the scheme C. So for example, the designated body is the national regulator and the market surveillance authority responsible for the legal methodology, including the prepackage. The national legislation provides for surveillance in the marketplace and the mandatory of use the conformity mark on the prepackage. So this is the scheme designed by the government, for example, by the national legislation that the government have to perform the surveillance, and also have to and the manufacturer or the packers have to put conformity mark in the prepackage if there is already issues the certificate. And then the designated body assess the packer's production system and issues the certificate. So if the packers and manufacturer already meet the production system already meet with the requirement, and then the designated body can issue the certificate that gives the right of the packers to apply or to put or to use the conformity mark for each package that he produced as specified in the certificate. And then the packer is subject to periodic surveillance by the designated body of his production system. So it means that the government have the activities to create the periodic or to create the subsequent the surveillance to make sure that the production is still under control and still meet the requirement. And then the government also carries out check in the marketplace. They take the sample from the supermarket, for example. It is still meet the similar meet the requirement, or the product is still covering by the certification issues by the government itself. So this is the scheme D that covering the whole activities, also including the post activities. And for the E, still the same, similar, only different in the post activities. It means that the national regulator for the legal methodology is the designating authority. So it means that government can distribute, can grant it for another party to be the designated body, and then the regulator has designated one or more private certification body to perform assessment of the packer's production system, to issue certificate, to perform surveillance, and to check the prepackaged product at the point of surveillance. So it means that the government can ask for the private certification body to do everything from the issuing certificate to the surveillance of the product system, and also to check whether the product is still meet the requirement at the point of the production. So this done by the private bodies, and the government still have the role that the government do the surveillance in the marketplace is a part of the scheme, and also it is performed by the regulator. It is performed by the government itself. So there will be a split or dividing the role between the government and also between the private certification body. So this is the scheme A for the case 1, when the government can allow the private bodies to do doing the certification system as in a scheme. And for the case 2, it is related to the international activities. Actually, it is the same with the case 1. Just the government can allow the private certification body to issue the certificate, to perform the surveillance, and also to make the sample test at the point of sale. So this is only different between two countries or in international scheme. For the scheme F, it will be covering all the scheme with an extension to licensing batch. For example, in the case where a packer produces one of batches of prepackaged that are not covered by a valid certificate. So this is just different in how the licensing, how the granting of the right to use certificate and the use of the converting mark, then and also doing the batch licensing is covered under the scheme of the certification of the prepackaged itself. So what is the designated body? Designated body is a government authority or private conformity assessment body designated to perform conformity assessment activities under a certification scheme for prepackaged. The designated body should be a legal entity or a defined part of a legal entity, such that the legal entity can be held legally responsible for all its certification activity. Where a designated body is part of another legal entity, it should clearly identify which legal entity has responsibility for its certification. And we have to say that the designated body have to have a competency by doing two schemes. The first one, they have to prove by being accredited by a recognized accreditation body that have signed with the IAF, MLA, or applicable ILAC, MLA, or the designated body can prove their competency by having an entrust management system and by being peer assessed by an assessment team nominated by the designated authority consisting of a member independent of the designating authority. So it is depends on how the national legislation put to create the proof of the competency of the designated body itself. Can be by the accreditation or doing another peer assessment done by some specific team nominated by the government itself. The assessment of the compliance. The designated body should ensure that the packers that they have certified fulfill the requirements by carrying out inspection of packers are required and issuing assessment report after each fishing. So it means that the designated body have to make sure that the packers of the manufacturer have to fulfill the requirement as they mentioned in the certificate. For the initial, the packer should be subject to at least determination that the packers complies with the requirement. They have to have the necessary qualified personnel. The packers should have the facility and also have the measuring and the test equipment to control procedure to provide the capability of answering the compliance of the prepackaged to stated the requirement. So before the packers can be put into the certification system, the packers should have to make sure that they have the human resource, they have a facility, they have the equipment, and also they have a procedure to make sure that everything is going on track, everything going to meet the requirement that the national legislation state. And then the determination of suitability of the packers production system. So the packers have to make sure that the production system is sustainable, they are continue, and then the packers also have to make sure that the conformity of the prepackaged produced by the packers by means of reference testing. And also when the packers have issued the certificate, the packers have to maintain the certificate itself by doing at least the first one, the packers have been subject to the assessment to make sure that the production system have still working, still continue, and then the packers subject to unannounced inspection, doing surveillance and testing if it is necessary. So it means that the government will put, or the designated body will take some inspection, surveillance to make sure that everything is still on the track. And then also the implementation of the more frequent or detailed inspection, surveillance and testing when a need is indicated. So if there is something wrong or there is a consumer that comply with the product of the packers who have the certificate, then the designated body or the government have the right to do detailed inspection, doing the surveillance and testing if it is necessary. So this is how the assessment procedure done. So we will talk about the production system assessment. So this is how the designated body or the government assess the production system of the packers. The first one that needed by the packers is the statement of the requirement. The scheme owner or the government should state that the requirement that packer must comply with. So it means that the government have to, the first one, the government have to state what requirement that packer must be comply with. For example, it is regarding to the labeling, or it is regarding to the quantity of the product in the prepackaged. So this could be stated in the national legislation. And then the reference could be based on the OML R79 or maybe OML R87 should be the basis for this national legislation. And then for the application for the certification, the application for the certification of the product system should be lodged for each production site with a designated body. The packer should provide information regarding to his production system, including information regarding to type of the product that produced by the packers or produced by the manufacturer, and then in the information regarding to the pack size, and then regarding to the quantity control system, how they make sure that the quantity of the product still controlled by his system. And then another information may be required by the designated body. It is depends on the national requirement. So this is the application for the certification under the production system assessment that have been that will be done by the government or the designated body itself. And then when we say the initial assessment before the assessment, the initial assessment of the production system, we can say that the designated body should carry out conformity assessment activity to ensure that the production system of the packers meet the minimum production system requirement and issues an assessment report. So it means that the designated body have to make sure that everything on the packers have met the minimum production system requirement. And then the designated body should review the assessment report and identify if there is any non-compliance. The packers should be given reasonable time to correct and any non-compliance, after which the designated body should reassess the production system as necessary. So after the first assessment, and then maybe there's something issues that come up with the assessment report, and then the packers have been the packers give the time is given the time to fix and also to give the to correct any non-compliance which is noted by which is noted in the assessment report itself. So and then the packers will fix and will resolve any issues, and then the designated body can again assess to make sure that everything is going correct. So it is I think this assessment will be similar with general assessment when we doing the ISO 70025 or doing the ISO 9001 assessment. So it is a similar mechanism for the assessment. The certification of the production system, the decision on the certification, the designated body should decide on granting certification on the basis of the evidence contained in the assessment report. So after the designated body doing the assessment for to the packers, and then there will be assessment report is if there is everything is okay, and then the designated body can decide on granting the certificate for the packers itself. All non-compliance should be resolved before a designated body may grant certification. If there is issues come up from the initial assessment doing by the designated body, and then the packers is given time to fix, to resolve any issues, any non-compliance, and then after everything is done, after everything is resolved or fixed, and then the designated body may grant the certificate. The designated body should issue the certificate to the packers which attest the compliance of the production system with stated requirement and which specify the production site, types of prepackers, and pack size. So it means that in the certificate we can say that there is a scope that designated body issued for the certificate. Maybe in some cases, not all the product produced by the packers or the manufacturer can be comply with the certificate. Maybe some of the product, for example, if we have the noodle manufacturer, for example, maybe some of the variant of the noodle maybe will be comply with the certificate, but another variant, for example, not comply. So it is depends on how the packers and also for the designated body doing the assessment. And the registration of the certificate, the designated body should maintain a register of certificate. From the register, it should be possible to determine whether the prepackage is covered by a valid certificate. So it is to make sure that the designated body or the government has to make sure that everything is already registered, and they know that what kind of product that already been certified, and when the certificate is already expired, and so on. So this is how the registration of certificate is done. So the registration should be withdrawn if the certificate is no longer valid. So the packers could be do the reassessment to make the certificate is valid again. The minimum requirement for the production system that been required for the packers depends on the national legislation. The first one is regarding to the documentation system, that the packers have to have the document system such as for example, this is the applicable documentation that might be covered by the factory's procedure. The work instruction should be available as a control document at the location where used. For example, where the package control measurement are carried out. So this is the minimum requirement for the packers that they have to prepare before they doing they are assessed by the designated body. And then the next one is a minimum requirement is regarding to the implementation, maintenance, and the review of the system the packer should design any person or human resource to have an authority or to responsibility for the implementation and the maintenance of the production system. If there is something wrong with the production system, so there is the person or there's a human resource who dealing with this production system. The production system should be audited and reviewed annually and update as appropriate under the responsibility of the designated person. So it means that the packers or the, for example, the owner of the manufacturer have to be make sure that everything going well. The production system is still reviewed every year, for example, so to make sure that everything is going under control. So this is one of these requirements that needed by the packers. And another requirement is regarding to the competent personnel. The packers should ensure that the competence of each personnel through relevant training or instruction to a level that will ensure that effective and efficient manufacture and control the prepackage itself. So the packers have to organize the training course, the instruction to make sure that the human resource or the personnel under his production system know about how to control the quantity of the prepackaged that they are produced. And then the next requirement is about regarding to the records. So the packers have to maintain the records of the production. So it means that the manufacturer should be maintained for any such a periodic, a month, a year, or some periodic to record everything on the production system itself. The records that are produced while controlling prepackaged should be traceable to the package concern and to the person responsible for the control and also the measuring instrument used. So the record generally have to be kept at least 2 years. So if there is some, for example, if there is something complaint with the from the consumer, then the government or the manufacturer can trace which batch, which manufacturer has been taken issues. So this is the minimum requirement for the production system of this quantity certification system. How about the licensing, the granting the right to use certificate? The designated body may grant to the packer the right to use certificate as the basis for the packers to declare that the production have met comply the specific requirement. So after the designated body give the certificate, it means that the packer can have the right to use the certificate to declare that his product has been met the specific requirement under a national regulation. And then granting the right to use mark conformity, it is also that after the government or designated body granted the certificate, and then the packers have the right to apply conformity mark to declare that the product have meet the specific requirement. But it is depends on the national regulation. It is the mark of conformity. It is voluntary or mandatory. It is depend if the mandatory, and then the packers have to use the mark. But if voluntary, it is depend on the packers whether they want to put the mark on the label or not. But I think when the packers put the mark in the label, I think it will be increased. It will be boost for the the added value of their product in the market. This is the post activities under the certification system. We can say that the post activities assessment are generally carried by the designated body and has issued the certificate to monitor the ongoing compliance. These activities carried out by the authority, such as the market surveillance activity. Sometimes this activity is overlapped by the government. So there's four types of these post-certificate activities. The first one is inspection at the point of the production. These activities involve the periodical taking sampling of the produce prepackaged at the point of the production, and then the sample is tested to establish ongoing compliance. The second activities is inspection in the marketplace. These activities involve taking samples of the prepackers from the market, from the supermarket, from these marketplace, and then the samples are testing and to make sure that the compliance of the prepacket itself regarding to labeling or regarding to the quantity. And then the third activities is regarding to batch licensing. This is activities involve the certification of the whole batch of the prepackers against the product specification following the selection on determination as specified in the scheme. So it means that each batch of the prepackers in the production line is giving the certificate to make sure that everything on the batch is under control. And the last one is surveillance of the production system. These activities involve the periodic assessment of the production system to establish ongoing compliance with the requirement of the scheme. So this is the surveillance. It is similar with the inspection of the point of the production. Okay, I think that's all for the introduction of this OEML Guide 21. I think this is still new for us maybe, and we still develop how this Guide 21 can be implemented as well in each country. So that's the presentation of us. So if there's any question, we still have time, right? But
you have enough time to discuss if there is any question.
Yep.
I would also like to ask if Davis would like to add something. So is Davis still around?
Yes, right here.
Thank you, Davis. If there's anything you want to add, any comments you want to make?
I mean, I think with regards to the education system, for example, as that was the last thing we were talking about, then there's obviously a bunch of practical implications of bringing a system into place, and it really depends what's what's in place at the moment for all the other economies that are here today. So they might have specific questions or practical questions around what they've got in the moment, or how that might affect them if they did bring a system in. So yeah, more I think I'd rather see some questions from the attendees than say anything further myself at the moment.
Good. All right. So you can add in something if there's a need. All right. Terrific. So audience participants, questions, please. There was a lot to take in, and some of you may be doing some of this already, but for those who have questions, could we hear them now, please?
You can ask not only for the Guide 21, but also for the labeling if there's a question on that. You can put also write your question under the chat feature if you want, so we can see the chat and then we can answer your question.
Hi, Dr. Rifan. I have a question from Singapore.
Yep.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so just wanted to find out a bit more on surveillance of the production system under the various schemes. So what specifically do, for example, the inspectors or the implementing authority look out for? Is it on the metrological control of the equipment that are used to fill, pack, and seal these pre-packages, or are there other areas that they look at?
Sorry, can you repeat the last?
Yeah, okay. So my questions are pertaining to surveillance of the production system for the various scheme. So I just wanted to find out a bit more on what exactly would the implementing authority be looking at, say, as part of component for the surveillance of the production system? Is it more on the metrological control of the equipment, the instruments that are used to fill and pack the pre-packages, or are there other areas?
Yeah, for the surveillance on the production system, it is covering not only for the equipment, but it's also for this, the production system. So how the packers of manufacturer can make sure that everything is going on. For example, yeah, to make sure, for example, if there's a equipment involved, it could be also for the subject for the surveillance, but the priority is how the product is still going on. For example, that we know that there's a product, the production line, right? And then the output of the product is we have to make sure that the quantity is still correct, something like that.
So, Griffin, is it about the integrity of the quality system that they use at the manufacturing process as well?
Yep. Yeah. I think for the surveillance, we can see that we can say for the system and also for the product output. So the surveillance will be cover all that. So we can say like I presented before that the packers have the minimum, right? The minimum requirement that have to be complied. So the surveillance have to make sure that everything is under the control, the documentation, the human resource, the equipment, and then also the product itself. So this is the whole system of the surveillance.
Right. So specific to the requirements for the equipment or the instruments, are we looking at full compliance to the OIML requirements? Say, for example, check weigher. Are we the implementing authority checking to ensure that the equipment fulfills, say, OIML requirements for the check weigher equipment?
Yeah, I think it depends on the national regulation. If, for example, for the check weigher, right? The check weigher is in some countries, for example, in Indonesia, the check weigher is subject to verification. So it means that we have to make sure also the check weigher has to comply the national regulation itself. So it is depends on the national legislation itself, whether the measuring instrument under the production system is subject to the legal requirement, for example, for verification or not. It is depends on that. Actually, for the prepackers, we only focus on the output, right? On the product itself, not for the whole thing.
System.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
So is there any question?
Any other question?
Or comments? It doesn't have to be a question.
Yeah, you can have comment also.
So I guess I want to know from the participants, are they feeling confident with what they've learned? Do they know it already? I'd like somebody to give me some feedback on what they actually do in their own economy. Well, be brave.
You could put the text on chat session, so if you don't feel comfortable speaking out.
Nobody's chatting either, though. Okay, but we'll have to assume that everybody's happy with what's happening. We always like to give it a little bit of time, because sometimes it takes a bit of time to write something in the chat, and even to turn your mic on to talk takes a little bit of time. So we're willing to wait a few moments if there's another question.
We have a question. Actually,
great, thank you.
The views of the participants here as well. So in Singapore, we have several shops that sell dry goods. So these dry goods may be packed in advance or in front of the customers. So when it's packed in advance, they may be bundled. Say for example, every pack is 200 grams.
Okay.
But these are not labeled with the quantity. They may not include a description of what the product is. So it could be a plain packaging with no declaration of the manufacturer or importer's information. So it's really a plain package, but it's sealed. So would these be considered pre-packages with standard nominal quantity or varying quantity, or would these not be even considered pre-packed goods generally? Yeah.
Okay. For a pre-package that has no name, just nominal quantity, and we don't. It's already packed because all the pre-packaged that already packed first in advance, it should have the name. Probably on the labeling that stick on the pre-package, like the fruit cuts. Yeah, I think we have that. It just told that it was probably fruit slice or fruit side or banana slice or whatever. It's all we can say that it was the identity of product. Okay, like meat slice or apples, probably, but all the prepackaged should have those 3 items. So for the one that already packed and without one of those requirements, it should say that we could say that they don't comply with all the requirements. So we want them to put at least identity of product and the nominal quantity. Because we know that the prepack declaration of prepackaged, they used to have the name like the mini market or the how does the mini market label. They used to have this. Do you have? I mean, I haven't seen the package yet, so I'm not very sure how to say is it comply or we should have to fix the package. But if there is no name for the there's no declaration of for the prepackaged, so it could say that it's not comply to the requirements, the recommendation.
Picture on Google. Maybe I'll just bring it.
Okay.
Okay, so these shops generally sell dried goods, if you can see dried goods. So they may pack in advance for customers.
Yep.
And they generally use standard packaging materials. It doesn't state what the product is, the quantity. So it's only upon clarification by the customers that the seller might indicate, oh, this pack is 500 grams.
Yeah, I think it is depends on the national legislation. As
Yes.
we know that in Indonesia, for example, any goods is in the package have to declare the 3 items that Ms. Rita have been mentioned. Any goods or any goods that put in the package have to declare the identity of the product,
the declaration,
the manufacturer, the declaration of the responsibility, manufacturer, importer, and so on, and also the quantity. So it means that if there is a product not
does not
mentioned
one of those,
it means that it is not under the legal methodology, but they will there's another division to make sure to have an inspection on that. It means that that product will be not comply with the national regulation itself. So it is depends on.
Yes,
it means that, yeah.
Yes, it depends on others national legislation, because like Mr. Rifan said, in Indonesia we have to have three, all the mandatory should have complied, and if there are something like in what you are showing, it's not compliant to legal methodology, but in Indonesia we have some like customer protection that give the surveillance for that prepackage. So if in Singapore they are okay to not saying that, it's fine, but in legal methodology term, they have to have three subjects for inspection.
And for that case, maybe for the seller have to prepare the weighing instrument, right? Because there is nothing declared on the quantity on that product, right? So the consumer can ask for the seller to make sure again the weight of the product, because it is not declared before the transaction. So it is not so it is the possible for the consumer to know or to wait again. So it is like the normal transaction, I think, using the measuring instrument, not covering the prepackage.
So I'm just going to summarize. So from my perspective, I think what your question was, is it a pre-package? And I think very clearly Rifan and Lita have told you, yes, it is a pre-package. But in order to actually do anything, it depends on how your laws are set up, how you've set everything up. But to comply, you probably should have laws that cover it, right? Makes sense?
Yes.
So have you got any more questions? Because now we're getting lots of chats, which is good. I'll call out the chats unless you have anything else to add to that one. Okay, you done? Good. Okay, so we had, maybe it's all about the same one. So somebody from Sri Lanka was saying they didn't have some of the slides, and yeah, we're going to mail it. So it's not actually a question. So he has Google Drive, but there must be something wrong with one of the slides. So I was getting excited. I thought I had 5 questions. So it sounds like everybody's fine with what they've heard today. They haven't got any more clarifications they require. If you do, speak up, please. But if you think of anything over the next week, and remember you've got your homework. Lita, will you remind them of the homework, please?
Oh yes, would you, we have a homework at the last page of the presentation. Please do this. So please find 3 prepackaged and find out if the labeling is accordance to mandatory requirements. This is, and then please read the presentation of Annex B. I have already give you the presentation, and find out if the 3 package that you already inspected is qualified for US, EU, or SADC. So I have already give 2 presentations for today, but since we have a limitation of times, I cannot give you the presentation for Annex B. So, but you can read about the Annex B, then find out whether the 3 package that you are already inspected on the first number, I'm sorry, it's it's number 1 and 1, it's 1 and 2, then find out if the 3 package that you already inspected is qualified for US, EU, or SADC. Any kind of package, pre-packaged good. You don't have to make a very international pre-packaged good, but just a simple pre-packaged good.
And then I was going to suggest they upload it by Monday so that you've got time to look at them. So if they upload them onto the folder that Nick will send you a link to, which will be homework, then we can have a look at them on Tuesday, and it'll make it easier for us to discuss them when we start back next week.
Yes.
Now there is a question. I can get excited. So Singapore is also wondering what the upgrade of the certification scheme is, and is there an avenue where we can check for this information? So I suppose she wants to know how many economies are actually implementing the certification scheme. I must admit I was wondering that myself when I was reading the materials.
Well, actually, Indonesia has not
yet
implemented this G21. So maybe we should.
Yeah, we're still developing this scheme. Maybe from the ASEAN country also, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand, and so on. In ASEAN country, we still developing how this quantity certification system will be developed. I think we're still learning, and then maybe there's another country that already implement that we can see, we can have a benchmark on that.
Are you doing that through ASEAN?
Not yet. We're still developing on that, because that's why in this OML Guide 21, and then we have to make sure that everything is delivering the information about the Guide 21, and then how we can develop in ASEAN country.
Okay, I'm just wondering if Davis, what happens in New Zealand? Do you implement the certification scheme?
No, we don't have one at the moment. We have explored it, but just time and resources haven't really facilitated us moving that forward. From my knowledge, I believe there's a K mark and a V mark, and I'll just be, I'm not too sure, but I think the V mark belongs to Vietnam and the K mark belongs to Korea. So that's two ones that are two economies you could check in with if you were wanting to see what they're currently doing. Obviously, as discussed previously, there is the E mark, which is a European-based control, but it's not quite on the same level, I believe, as what we're talking about with G12.
So your level of control is basically inspectors going out and checking packing houses and checking supermarkets.
Yeah, and then it's freedom movement of goods. E-mark allows the goods to move from, say, England to, well, previously did before UK moved out of Europe. Then the goods can move freely through countries, and that was the main idea behind the E-mark, was to do that, to say that it was compliant. Doesn't mean it is compliant. It's just it's a mark to say that they understand compliance.
Okay, thank you, Davis. Right, well, we might be at the end, because I don't think there are any more questions. Wait another few minutes in case somebody has one.
Excuse me, madam.
Yes.
I'm Saroja from Sri Lanka.
Okay.
Thank you. Nice to hear you.
I have some comment to you.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, as the inspector of legal metrology in our economy, we supposed to verify the quantity of product in marketplaces by using the sample plan in accordance with OIML R87 and 79. So we have to learn how to train the trainer of the particular requirements from this training. We hope those, madam. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm not sure I fully understood that, but I think you're saying you're going to use what you've learned today to train some of your staff. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. That's very nice. Thank you. That's a lovely comment. All right. Well, can I thank the trainers very much? I'd like to comment on how colourful you look. It's a beautiful setup you have there. You look very nice. It's not drab and dull. It's very beautiful. And your presentation was very interesting. And we look forward to a week from today, learning some more about prepackaged goods. I think a week is probably a good interval, give us time to think about it, and the homework will require people to do a fair bit of reading, and they will have to go and identify some prepackaged goods. Hopefully they'll find some with problems. That will make it more interesting. So unless the Secretariat, does Zalal have anything to say, or Nick? No? Okay, terrific. We will make it a close for today and hope to see you all again next week. Same time, and remember, Zanal will send you a link, a new link for next Wednesday. So thank you all very much.
Okay,
And thank you
for everybody.
Thank you
We
for
meet
all
again
your
for the next
attention.
week.
Okay, bye-bye. Have a safe week, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, madam.